Hey guys, it's Rachel. Today we're going to talk all about my experience getting sick while on vacation in Walt Disney World. We're also going to talk about what do you do when you get sick, because unfortunately it happens. So my last trip to Disney, I flew down in June of this year, 2017, and met up with my really good friend Sean, which if you watch my vlogs, I'm sure you've seen Sean in them. I go down there to visit him regularly. He is one of my best friends, has been since high school, love him to death, such a good guy. I flew down all by myself and met up with Sean on my first day. He picked me up at the airport and everything was going great. I mean, I had a little bit of a rocky flight, to be honest. You know, a little bit of turbulence, nothing too crazy, but definitely wasn't the most comfortable flight that I've had going down to Florida. It's a pretty quick trip here from Pennsylvania, only about 2 hours. So I felt okay when I got there, just a little tired. It was late night. My plane got delayed, actually. Forgot about that. The plane was delayed, so that's never fun because I think it was like 1 a.m. when I got in. Went to sleep. Next day, woke up, felt great, went to the parks. So I was on this trip for 5 days or so. About halfway through the trip, we went to Pandora for the first time. I was so excited to finally check out Pandora. Such a beautiful place, and if you haven't been, you need to check it out. I'll link to that Pandora video up in the corner so you guys can check that out. So we were adventuring around Pandora and we decided to get in line for Flight of Passage. Now, if you don't know, Flight of Passage is one of 2 new rides in Pandora, and it is definitely the more thrilling of the 2. If you've ever been on Soarin' and Epcot, it's very similar to that. It's a simulated screen ride and it is so cool. It's hard to describe really how cool of an experience it is, so I just highly recommend going on it. But it is a very intense ride. It is very thrilling. There's a lot of kind of up and down motion, and me personally, I don't like roller coasters. I don't like Tower of Terror. I am not a person that likes that drop feeling. I don't like feeling like I'm falling. It is horrible, and my stomach, I just want to throw up, honestly, when I have that feeling, so it's not fun. But I decided to give this ride a go anyway, since I knew I wasn't actually gonna be falling. It was gonna be more of a simulated kind of feeling. I was like, I'll be fine. Done those kinds of rides before, no problem. So I thought. So we rode the ride. We waited 1 hour and 40 minutes. Not too bad, actually, compared to how that line has been since that ride opened. I know some people are waiting up to like 3 or 4 hours, which honestly, I would wait a couple hours in that ride line again because it was worth it. But anyway, we decided to go eat as soon as we were off this ride. We went over to the quick service location for food in Pandora, and I ordered the cheeseburger buns, which you can also see in my Pandora vlog, and had a good meal. Unfortunately, at the end of that meal is when I started feeling a little weird. I wasn't sure what was going on. Honestly, I thought that maybe I just ate a little too fast or maybe too soon after that ride, so my stomach just wasn't sitting well with me. I also had actually had one of those drinks, those specialty drinks in Pandora, the Night Blossom. The Night Blossom. So good. So good. But it's a very sugary drink, so I'm like, oh, you know, maybe I'm just feeling a little weird because of all the sugar, and it's just not sitting with me well. I'll be fine, I'll just walk kind of slow. So Sean saw that I wasn't feeling very well, and we kind of just took it easy that evening. So we get back to the hotel, and we were actually planning on going out that night in downtown Orlando, which I had been looking forward to on this trip because there was this really cool place that Sean wanted to take me to that I'd never been to before. And I was just so excited to go out in downtown Orlando with him that night. We were getting ready, I was doing my makeup. The whole time I'm not feeling well. I felt really weird. My stomach just wasn't settling, and I didn't necessarily feel super like nauseous, but just something was wrong. Something felt off, and it just kept getting worse as I was getting ready to go out. So I looked at Sean and I was like, I'm sorry, I think I just need to stay in the room tonight. And I was really bummed. I was so frustrated, but I was like, you know, something's not right. And I'm glad I did, honestly, because it just got worse. That night I just felt super, super nauseous, but like nothing was happening. Like I didn't feel like I had to throw up, but my stomach just wouldn't settle and it was really uncomfortable. So I actually took a Dramamine. When you're feeling a little nauseous, sometimes it settles your stomach a little bit. So I was like, all right, let me just take one of these. I went to sleep and I felt horrible all night. But when I woke up, I felt okay. So I was like, oh, that was really weird. Maybe it was just the food I ate. That's what I figured. Like little indigestion, you know, something was going on. We went and did some more stuff that day and the next day as well. And it was a great trip. You know, to be honest, the second half of the trip, I felt not 100% well, but I kind of just thought, Rachel, you need to drink more water. You probably haven't been eating enough vegetables on this trip because let's face it, when you're in Disney, a lot of times you're eating sweets galore and carbs. And I love eating at really great restaurants and stuff when I'm on vacation, but we were kind of trying to budget a little bit more. So wasn't eating all the food that I probably should have been eating. And you know, I just kind of figured, Rachel, drink more water and maybe you'll feel better. So the last day of my trip, we had made some plans to go to a park that day, and then Sean was gonna actually drop me at the airport that evening before he drove a few hours to a different part in Florida to visit his family for his birthday. So I was like, this is perfect, we'll go hang out, whatever. But I wake up that morning, I should say, 6 o'clock a.m. rolls around on my final day of vacation, and I woke up feeling like I was gonna die. That might be a little exaggerated, but I literally have never felt so crappy in my life. I woke up not only feeling nauseous, because I was super nauseous like I was halfway through the trip, but times 10. I was dizzy, I couldn't see straight, I had a fever, which actually, something you guys should learn about me is I am always over-prepared for vacation. Always. I am the girl who brings everything because someone's gonna need it. So I actually had a thermometer in my carry-on bag with me. So I took my temperature and sure enough, I had a really high temperature. I was over 100, I forget what it was, but over 100 degrees. And I just felt horrible. I had never had all of these symptoms at once before. The dizziness, the nausea, the fever, I was sweating, like it was like the chills and the sweats back and forth. I tried to drink water and I couldn't get water down. Like my stomach wouldn't let me swallow water. And that's when I knew I had a problem and I couldn't just rest and let it go. After about 2 hours, 3 hours of being in the room feeling like this, I looked at Sean and I was like, we need to take me somewhere. We need to do something. So we proceeded to look online for the closest urgent care center, thinking maybe they can just give me an IV. We figured maybe I was just dehydrated. So if the urgent care could give me an IV and send me on my way, then I figured I would feel a lot better since I hadn't been drinking a lot of water. So we were looking for urgent cares and we called a place. And I don't honestly know where we called, but the lady on the phone was really nice, but wasn't really able to answer our questions about if they could give us an IV or not. And at that point, I felt so horrible that I just looked at Sean and I said, you need to take me to the ER because something's not right and we need to get me checked out. I've never been sick enough to go to the ER. I've been to the ER for other incidences. I had to get some stitches once and, you know, broken arm, whatever. But I've never been just straight up sick and had to go to the ER. My husband was back in Pennsylvania and I was communicating with him over the phone. Sean was talking to him over the phone, kind of keeping him updated on what was going on with me. My husband didn't have vacation time left for the year, so he didn't come on this trip with me. And honestly, I go to Disney a lot more without him than with him, just because he likes it, but not quite as much as I do. So we went to a hospital in Orlando and into the ER, and it took about an hour and a half or so for us to get into a room in the ER. There was definitely a couple situations people had to get in before me, so I didn't mind waiting in the waiting room. Although, in the waiting room, I was so nauseous, right? They were playing videos of food. The Food Network was on. That's like the last thing I wanted to see. Sean actually had to ask the nurse to turn off the food on the TV because I was like, oh my gosh, I am going to throw up anything that's left in my system if I have to keep watching this right now. But anyway, we ended up being in the ER pretty much all day, and I was supposed to leave that day. So on top of that, I had to, while being in the hospital, reschedule my flight for the next day, and Sean had to kind of postpone his plans so that he could take me to the airport the next day. So thank you, Sean, you're the best. I owe you a redo trip. You know you have a good friend when they spend all day in the ER with you and they take care of you when they're supposed to be with their family, and you have no idea, Sean, how much that means to me. I'm gonna cry just thinking about it because you were such a good friend. I was feeling horrible still in the hospital. They gave me medicine, but I was so overwhelmed. Honestly, I spent a lot of my time in the hospital room when I wasn't sleeping crying just because I was frustrated and I didn't feel, you know, when you're tired and you're sick and you just don't feel good, I think frustration tears are just naturally what comes. I just wanted to go home at that point. I just wanted to be home. I wanted to feel better. It was not fun. So the hospital staff was really great. We had really great doctors and nurses. They ran a bunch of tests and nothing came back alarming. So they kind of just gave me some anti-nausea medicine to take with me, a prescription, and sent me on my way. The next day he took me to the airport. Honestly, I still felt horrible. The anti-nausea medicine that they gave me was good up until it wore off and I had to take another one and I felt horrible all over again. I think honestly it was pure adrenaline that got me home because I just at that point wanted to be home. I did the quick flight. I had to drive a few hours home from the airport, and I am just so glad that I made it home safely. The day that I actually flew home was the day that I was supposed to go back to my day job. So they knew what was going on. I had contacted them already, and I get home and I still was feeling horrible. So I called off the next day. Next day came, had to call off the next day because I still felt horrible. By the third day that I was home and I was still feeling the exact same, I was like, all right, I need to go follow up with my doctor at home. So I went to my family doctor and right away they diagnosed me with vertigo. Never in my life have I had vertigo. I also was very, I guess, just naive. I didn't know what vertigo was. I had never dealt with it. I had known some people to deal with it, but honestly, everyone I knew that had ever had it were a lot older than me, so I kind of figured it was something that happened like later in life. I really had no idea what it was. I'm not a doctor. I can't explain to you exactly what vertigo is, but how I kind of have been explaining it is I had an infection in my ear, which I didn't know. It might have happened before I flew down. It might have happened once I got there. I got some sort of virus, and my ear was infected and inflamed, and it was pressing on my brain, and it was causing my vision and my whole self to just kind of be thrown off and unbalanced. So it was making me super dizzy and super nauseous. That's one of the biggest side effects of this as well. So my family doctor prescribed me some new medication, a couple different things, and within 48 hours, I didn't feel nauseous anymore. Which was like the best thing ever, because feeling nauseous, oh, it's just the worst. I was still very dizzy. So I actually was told by my doctor that I had to stay home for at least the next, I think it was about 4 days or so. And then if I was starting to feel better, then I could head back to work. But she was concerned that, you know, I shouldn't be driving, and she was definitely right. I should not have been driving, because pretty much I would look and try to focus at something, and it felt like the whole room was kind of just moving around, and I couldn't focus on what I was looking at, and it was making me just very uncomfortable. I wasn't able to focus on anything, so it was just really difficult, really frustrating. And honestly, I'm the kind of person that when I sit around at my house, I don't just sit on the couch for hours at a time. I'm always doing so many different things, and this really forced me to just lay on the couch and do nothing, and I was kind of losing my mind. I was so ready to get back to work. However, honestly, getting back into work was really hard. It took a few more days after I'd started work to really start feeling a lot better. So, vertigo. not fun. My next trip down to Florida, I won't be doing any major rides, just as a precaution, just to kind of see how I do. And I'm gonna consult with my doctor before I go down to Florida and just kind of get everything checked out, just to make sure I'm doing okay, because I wanna do everything in my power to keep that situation from happening again. Luckily, I still have medication, so I have all these different ways to hopefully help myself and avoid the ER if the vertigo decides to come back, but hopefully it won't. So that's my story. You know, it was definitely an unexpected and not fun experience. I'm glad that I didn't feel horrible until the end of my trip, but honestly, like looking back on it, being sick in the middle was miserable, and then like those couple days to follow, something was a little off and I knew it, and it's just not fun. And then spending the last day of your vacation in the ER, like not what anybody wants to do when they paid a lot of money to go on a special vacation that they were looking forward to for months and months and months. So anyway, I usually am moving or standing when I make these videos. I'm much better at vlogging than the ones in my house, so I feel like I just need to do a little stretch. So as I said earlier, I am always the over-prepared one for any sort of vacation. I bring everything with me, which is why I had my thermometer with me. I did have medication on me. In fact, what I usually do, and I recommend this is something I found, I think it's just on Pinterest or something, when traveling, to always have a bunch of over-the-counter medication with you, just in case, you know, if someone gets a headache, or if you just, you know, are feeling a little bit of indigestion one night, you have something in your hotel room that you can just take and you don't have to stress about trying to find it. What I do, it's a little beat up, so don't mind it. I actually carry this a lot of times in my purse with me as well, just because I carry a really big purse day to day, and it's always good to have these kinds of things with you. So I have Advil, Tylenol, Aleve, Excedrin migraine, which is probably one of my bigger ones while I'm down in Disney that I end up taking, because just going in and out of air conditioning gives me migraines all the time. So Pepto-Bismol, Tums, and I have some like Alka-Seltzer, which is pretty much Tums. So I love taking this with me. I don't usually bring it into the parks just because, you know, I don't want to have anything too heavy in my park bag. Sometimes maybe I'll bring a couple Excedrin just because I know that ends up being what I need in the parks. Other stuff maybe just when I get back to the room that night if I'm feeling a little bit of indigestion from dinner or something. It's nice to be able to have some stuff in the room to be able to take if you're not feeling right. So I suggest this. This is just one of those like Monday through Friday little pill things. I think I got this at Target for a couple bucks. I took little labeling stickers and just wrote which ones are on there. On the inside, I actually wrote the dosage just so I wouldn't forget, and you know, you gotta be careful with those things. You don't wanna take it too often. These are great. It's just a couple bucks at Target or any sort of drugstore. Grocery stores usually have them. It's a great way to have some of those over-the-counter medications with you in your hotel room, so just in case you have it with you. All Disney on-site hotels have a great little area in their gift shops that have a lot of these over-the-counter medications. Dayquil, NyQuil, which I've had to buy there before. Colds are common down there. Be using your hand sanitizer, people. Use your hand sanitizer. Such a common thing to pick up a little cold down there. So, yeah, Dayquil, NyQuil, you have Advil, you know, all those sorts of more common over-the-counter medications you should be able to find at your hotel room in the gift shop, which is great. If you're feeling a little under the weather, or if you need some band-aids on the back of your feet for a blister or something like that, there are first aid stations in every single Disney park, which is great. So it's usually near the front of the park, and there's also one in both of the water parks as well. So if you just need to get like a dose of Tylenol, or if you need to get a band-aid, or if you need contact solution, you know, the littlest things that just can ruin your day, the first aid stations are there to help with that. So go ahead and ask a cast member to direct you to where those are. But like I said, they're usually near the front of every Disney park, and they are there to help you. If they can't help you, they will point you in the direction that can help you to get you the resources that you need to get the medication you need, or whatever it may be, emergency services, so on and so on. Sometimes we forget our medications. let's be honest. Or let's say we use the last little bit of a medication and we need to have a prescription filled while on Disney property. Well, not all of us have a car. For my situation, Sean had a car, so I didn't have to call an ambulance. I didn't have to worry about any of that, luckily. But most of us going down to the Walt Disney World Resort are flying in and using the Magical Express and Disney transportation while on property, and we don't have a car with us. So what do you do when you want to get that medication and not have it ruin your day and have to go out of your way to get it done? So Disney has a delivery prescription service that they use and recommend called Turner Drugs. Now, Turner Drugs, they have their own website. I'll link that down below for you guys if you want to check that out. They can have a prescription filled for you from your doctor. So call your doctor, have them write a prescription for you or fill a prescription. You can also get any sort of over-the-counter medication from them as well that maybe the Walt Disney resorts don't carry. They can fill prescriptions and non-prescription medications for you and deliver it right to your Walt Disney World Resort, so you don't have to go anywhere. Same day delivery and no hassle. None of us want to drive around to a pharmacy to get a prescription filled while we're on vacation trying to have a good time. So same day delivery, super convenient, reasonable, fair pricing, and they work with your insurance company as well if you get a prescription filled. Turner Drugs link will be down below. If you don't remember the name Turner Drugs when you get to Disney, don't worry, you don't have to have this number on speed dial or anything, but you can click the button for the desk on your resort room phone and call down, and they will give you all the information for Turner Drugs that you need to get what you need delivered to the resort that same day. Super awesome. Sometimes we need a prescription that we don't have a prescription for already and we need to get an antibiotic or something like that. If you come down with something or God forbid pink eye, you know, you need to get some eye drops, you know, something like that, that's when you call the urgent care centers. Orlando has a whole mess of urgent cares that you can choose from. Disney recommends the Florida Hospital Centra Care Centers. They actually provide free transportation to and from them, which is great. So you don't have to worry about getting a car. So all you have to do is call down to the front desk and they will arrange that for you if you need to get to an urgent care center. Most insurances are accepted at this urgent care center as well, but if you have any sort of concerns about that, then I would call before you go, just in case. In cases of extreme emergencies, dial 911. Don't hesitate and get yourself to a hospital. I hope that some of this was able to give you a good idea of what Disney offers when you are sick on property, and I really hope that you have a safe, healthy vacation and you don't have to use any of this information, but I hope that it has prepared you for the worst just in case, because you never know, unfortunately. So thanks for watching and I'll see you guys real soon. It's hard to start these things. Definitely hear my birds out there. You guys, every time I film one of these videos, I have to move my birds out of my bedroom because they are usually in here. They're like, where am I? I'm in the living room. It's kind of weird without them in here though. Oh, I didn't breathe for a second. Turner Drugs is a prescription. This is like such a tongue twister. Turner Drugs is a Disney preferred prescriber, preferred provider, prescription. I have a lot of notes. They are a Disney preferred prescriber. Trying to say the sentence 10 times. Are a Disney preferred prescriber. That's not it either. They are a Disney preferred prescriber of prescription medication. Did I say that right this time? Preferred. Why is this so hard?